The Carolina Panthers embarrassed themselves in New Orleans on Sunday, and y'all are upset and have questions about what they're going to do from here. I'm here to answer your questions on this weekly Wednesday mailbag edition of Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Subscribe or follow the show for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, on Twitter at Julian Council, where on Wednesdays, like today, throughout the entirety of the regular season, I'm right here answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. All you got to do is either at me or DM me on Twitter at Julian Council, and I will appreciate it too if you choose to follow me on Twitter at Julian Council to get your questions in for next week's edition of the weekly Wednesday mailbag right here on Locked On Panthers. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Before we get started today with the weekly Wednesday mailbag, the news is official for the Carolina Panthers and for Pro Bowl defensive tackle Derrick Brown. He will miss the remainder of the 2024 season with a tear to his meniscus in his knee. So we will not see him until 2025, a massive blow to this organization and to Derrick Brown after an embarrassing 47-10 loss on Sunday. Just when you thought it couldn't be worse, unfortunately, an avalanche of bad news followed that loss on Sunday. So best wishes to Derrick and a speedy recovery, and out to his family as well as they deal with that. And he attacks his recovery and comes back hopefully bigger, faster, and stronger in 2025. The Panthers will certainly miss Derrick Brown this year. Let's go ahead and get into it. The weekly Wednesday mailbag here on Locked On Panthers. Going to start off with Noah, who is from Louisville, Kentucky, and he told me he's going to be going to his first ever Panthers game here in Charlotte on Sunday against the Chargers. So let's all pray for Noah that the Panthers don't embarrass themselves again. He's not wasting his time and his money coming to this beautiful city to watch the Panthers play. And if anybody sees Noah out there, let's all show him some kindness. I know a lot of people are transplants here in Charlotte and maybe adopt the Panthers, but either way, everybody, be nice. Show him some Southern hospitality. I don't really consider Louisville the South, but I guess it kind of is with all the bourbon, whatever. Noah, welcome to Charlotte, man. Either way, he asks, I've been wondering truly, how long of a leash do you think Dave Canales has with the team? Because we personally, I think while he did coach a very bad game week 1, the Panthers still have a bottom 10 roster, in my opinion. Bottom 10's being very nice. No, it's probably bottom 3, maybe bottom 1 based on what we saw on Sunday. Either way, he said even after all the offseason acquisitions. So I believe as long as we're not getting beat by 37 every week or going 1-16 or something like that, he should have at least 2 seasons for him and Dan Morgan to get the culture set and repair the disaster Scott left. And I truly hope that Tepper has enough common sense to understand that, but history clearly tells us not to hold our breath on that. Yes, the David Tepper factor and how patient is he willing to be with an organization where he has shown very little patience. And I do agree with you that unless Canales is getting blown out every week by 37 points, then the Panthers can't keep him. They go 1-16. We have seen coaches not win a single game and be retained. I don't think any of those coaches have ever gone on to really have much success after that. I have to go quickly, though. Dan Campbell, what was his record with the Lions? I know he was 1-7. People were thinking he's going to get fired. So his worst record with the Lions was 3-13. They go 9-8 the following season after a 1-7 start, and then 12-5 last year, going to the NFC title game, currently 1-0 this year. So, I mean, if they only win 3 games, win 4 games, that puts him potentially on par with maybe a quick turnaround like Dan Campbell has orchestrated up there with Brad Allen, his general manager there in Detroit. Don't think that would necessarily be the case here in Carolina. But yeah, they lose by 37 every week. He's gonna have to go. It's hard to say how patient David Tepper will be. And I spoke about this on the show yesterday, just talking about how the Panthers just never let anything develop and that there's a lack of patience. And there's impatience coming from the fan base right now as people want to see Bryce Young benched. I don't know what that's going to accomplish for this season. If you look how the defense played, it's not like it's an all-star defense that's just being held back by its offense. Offense was bad on Sunday. Defense was bad on Sunday. Special teams was bad on Sunday. It was an all-around failure by all three facets of the game. So it's not like just one area is killing this team. I understand the angst. And I know looking around at the rest of the league, and in particular down in Houston, what you could have had, I totally get it. But as far as just the organization as a whole, they just never let anything marinate, man. You back to Teddy Bridgewater, I felt like that should have been, you keep him as your starter, you build the roster, then you drop in a rookie quarterback. They couldn't even do that. They only gave it one season. They really being David Tepper. They moved on to Sam Darnold. And once they brought in Sam Darnold and they picked up the fifth-year option, Sam Darnold needed to be their quarterback for 2 years. You needed to figure out whether he was the guy. I was not a Sam Darnold believer. And after 7 games, they took him out of that game against the Giants, put in PJ Walker, and he got hurt. So I get it. He wasn't good. I didn't really want to watch it, but you got to give the guy some time. And now we're seeing, like, he sat back behind Brock Purdy last year in San Francisco and played well on Sunday. And I'm not sitting here believing all of a sudden that Sam Darnold is the guy, but if he turns out to be the guy, maybe because, they're being a little bit more patient. He got time to be in a system, and now he's in that same system again in Minnesota. Like Baker, the Panthers couldn't really be patient. He didn't have another year on his deal. He's going to be a free agent. They wanted to find out right away, but it's not like they put him in the right situation. Like, they weren't patient with Teddy, probably rightfully so. They weren't patient with Sam Darnold, probably rightfully so. But if you're going to trade for him, at least give him a chance and try to build around him. But they weren't willing to do stuff like that, which is where we're sitting here again. And you wonder, will they be patient enough with Bryce? Will they be patient enough with Dave Canales? Like, after 1 week, no, they should not be abandoning this experiment. It is an experiment between Dave Canales and Bryce Young and trying to see whether it can work, if he can do what he did for Geno and for Baker, for Bryce this season and beyond. I think that they got to give it 2 years. I know you don't want to hear that, but you did not hire Dave Canales to come and work with Bryce Young and to end that after 1 season. You got to give these guys some time. I know. You're tired of waiting. I'm tired of waiting too. I'm tired of coming up here and talking about it and having to watch every single year. I don't want to do this again next season. But man, you got to be patient at some point in time. You're David Tepper, and he talked about he's going to be patient. And the best way to show that patience is to give Bryce and Dave this entire season and really next. And if it does not work out after these 2 years, and Bryce is certainly gone, and you would guess, considering that you brought in Canales to work with Bryce, he would likely be gone as well. So we'll see how long that leash really is. I know you hate to hear it, but man, for the very beginning, I told y'all this is a 3-year proposition, and we are 1 game in to year 3, or for 1 game into year 2 of this 3 years of Bryce Young here in Carolina. And there was a lot of angst and a lot of upset people. And believe me, I understand. Andre asking questions just about the temperament of Bryce Young and Dave Canales and whether that's the right one they need here in Carolina, saying, do you think from a locker room standpoint, Bryce, and maybe to a lesser extent, Dave Canales' constant optimism will fall on deaf ears, or can it actually galvanize the troops? I know Bryce is cool, calm, and collected, and that's okay. But I do think, given how last year went and the start of this year, it may benefit this team to see some fire and some genuine raw emotion. Not saying he needs to F you a bunch of guys or be screaming, but I am growing a little weary of those sad press conferences after losses. I want to know my quarterback is pissed off instead of, oh, we got to go earn it next week. And I also want coach to know when it's time to turn off the positivity. It's very interesting. The positivity, the optimism. And I have people come after me all the time being like, why are you so negative? It's like, and then people are like, we need our coach and quarterback to stop being so positive. It's just really weird. All I do is give information, my opinion, towards a team that has not been good since 2017. So I don't really understand how that's negativity. It's just the reality of the situation. And yes, I know you don't want to be told all the time how bad your team is. It's just reality. Also, get a little bit tougher. That's all I'm saying. Like, I grew up here in Charlotte. Our team suck right now. You kind of just got to laugh and hope for the future. Or if you can't handle it, go find something else to do. You don't have to watch these games. No one's forcing you. It ain't Bird Box where they got your eyes wide open and you're forced to watch. He asked me a question like this last year, Andre did. I think he's making too much of it. Justin Herbert's not a rah-rah guy, and like the Chargers haven't had a ton of success, I think mainly because of injuries, and the coach they had before, Brandon Staley, didn't know what he was doing, but he just needed to be someone that screams. Like Will Levis was out there screaming and yelling when he was making some dumbass decisions on Sunday in that loss against Chicago. Is that galvanized the Titans? Who knows? But again, it's only 1 week into this season. I don't think that after one game where everyone was terrible, that's going to fall in deaf ears. If we're sitting here, it's week 10, the defense is a lot better. Special teams is a lot better. And the offense is still bad because Bryce Young is jittery in the pocket and inaccurate. Totally different conversation. But when everyone sucked, I just don't see how they can look at Bryce or Dave and be like, stop being positive. Your optimism, it's offensive. How dare you? No, everybody was bad. So, I don't think after 1 week, these guys should all of a sudden change their tune and be like, oh, guys, we got to really get back together. Let's just BS. We got to play harder. They're like, can't believe this and be so ticked off. Like, it's one game. I know you want to hear it. It's one game, though. And for them, you just got to clean up, get ready to go. As a fan, yeah, you can be upset about it because there's nothing you can do, but they can do something about it. And they don't have to act in a fire and brimstone kind of way. Like I've never understood people thinking that that's just how these guys got to conduct themselves. I know you're saying they don't have to go F you everybody, but you don't have to have someone who has a big personality that is firing up guys all the time in order to lead. It's just there's different leadership styles. Maybe one of them is better for football than the other. I don't know. Like Andy Reid doesn't strike me as a guy who's like super like jazzed up crazy. Like, and Pete Carroll is a pretty positive guy, and they had a lot of success there in Seattle, and that's where Dave Canales is coming from. It's going to take some time. He told us on Sunday, we've heard it before, don't want to hear it again. Those are just facts, man. It's going to take some time, and I don't think Dave Canales should go be somebody he's not just because they lost one game. And same thing with Bryce Young. Even after last season, shouldn't change who he is. Like, this is who they are, and you're going to have to accept it, or I guess not. I'm sure it'll be a lot more palatable if they actually start winning games, which I, again, totally understand. All right, let's take a quick pause to come back and answer more of your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions right here on Locked On Panthers. You heard me talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And I'm guessing right now, for all the folks who may have DirecTV, you're probably not very happy about the current carrier dispute. So why don't you go over to YouTube TV? I've had it for a long time. Yes, they had their own issues a couple years ago with Disney, but things are solved, and you now can get NFL Sunday Ticket, which you used to get on DirecTV and you no longer get. So it's pretty simple. $5 bet it on college, bet it on Major League Baseball, bet on the NFL, and you get 3-week free trial. It's just that simple. All you got to do is just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, back to your questions here on this weekly Wednesday mailbag edition of Locked On Panthers. Over now to Chris and Jevin, who both have pretty close questions. Jevin, Javon, hope I didn't get that wrong. I'm sure I got one of them wrong. Maybe both. But Chris asking, what will happen if Bryce has a breakout day a couple times this season, but plays like he did this past weekend, a few games? Will they choose to move on or stick with him next season? Then Jevin asking, if Bryce continues to make the same mistakes as 2023, who needs to be held accountable this year? Is it just him, or is there a bigger issue with the offensive coaches and schemes in Carolina that is causing their passing game to suck year in and year out? Well, if Bryce Young has like 8 games like he had on Sunday, and then 9 games like he had against Green Bay last year, that is going to be internally frustrating to have to go through. So if that's what happens, if it's that extreme, I don't know what to say. I'm guessing they're probably going to stick with him in that situation because they know, all right, he has games where he's awesome, but then he has games where he is just completely unplayable, jittery, unconfident, if that's even a word, and inaccurate. But they're going to hold on to the fact that we see he can play, so let's find a way to cut all the bad out. Like, they would keep him in that situation, in my opinion. I hope, I don't know if I think it, but I certainly hope that it's not going to be one side end of the spectrum every single week, because I can't handle that. I can't handle him being terrible against the Saints, then great against the Chargers, then bad again against the Raiders, and then great against the Bengals. It would drive me nuts. I'm sure it would drive you nuts as well. As far as the other question, who needs to be held accountable this year if Bryce does not play well? We just can go based off of just one game so far. And we saw in that one game, the offensive line was not a problem. Yes, Ike Ekwonu gave up 4 pressures. Taylor Moton gave up 2 pressures. The tackles weren't necessarily excellent in that game, primarily Ekwonu, but 4 of the starting offensive linemen were some of the highest graded players, according to PFF, the Panthers had out there on Sunday in a terrible offensive performance. Overall, the offensive line was good enough. More than good enough, I thought, for Bryce Young to have success. Like, there were open receivers in that game. Did they all get a ton of great separation? No, but still, they were open. And that was not something you could say last year during these games. Bryce Young was not under siege. His receivers were not completely locked up. There were opportunities to make plays. So if it looks like it did on Sunday, who are you going to blame other than Bryce? I don't know who else could be blamed. Maybe you blame Canales because he was supposed to come in here and help him. But if we see the scheme where, look, there's a play that he drew up for Jonathan Mingo on that reverse, which I thought was a really good play call, and Mingo fumble. Like, you can draw things up, but the players don't execute. Then what are you supposed to do in that situation? And I felt like he drew things up on Sunday for Bryce Young, and he did not execute. Now, I also believe that he needs to do a better job of establishing the run. He maintains that they wanted to run the ball exactly how they wanted to run it on Sunday. I disagree as far as just the amount of runs and certain situations that were in on Sunday where they chose not to run the ball. They got to take pressure off the quarterback. And I would hope coming out of the game to start off on Sunday, like, that's what they're going to want to do. Run it, get him comfortable, and not have situations like we had on Sunday where immediately he seemed to lose confidence. And that was just a down win spiral from there. So we'll see. But I feel like it's got to be on Bryce if he plays like that. If it looks like that all season long, who else can you blame except for the quarterback? Trey. Hey, Julian. Hey, Trey. Obviously, Jonathan Mingo had a poor performance this past Sunday. What else is new? Do you see Xavier Legette taking over Mingo's role? And could you see Xavier being the spark that can help Bryce Young in the offense start moving forward a little bit? Yeah, looking at Xavier Legette on Sunday, had a team high 4 receptions. Those went for 35 yards. He had 7 targets on the day. Interesting note here that was put out there by Mike K. It looks like he received it from some sort of NFL release, but he put this out there and someone was upset, being like, why are you being negative for just putting out an interesting stat? Legette registered the second lowest average separation among qualified receivers in week 1 at 1.8 yards. This was not a result of short passes either, as Legette averaged 16.4 air yards on his 7 targets. So he's getting down the field, which is a good thing. Only 3 receivers average less: CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, and Allen Lazard. And CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, pretty good. Lazard had a touchdown catch. I actually may have been brought back in that Jets game, but I can't remember. But either way, 2 of those guys, I don't think you're upset about hearing Legette's name in the same sentence as CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk. Now, those guys, I guess, got to do a better job getting open in their own right. But I was impressed and honestly shocked when I saw that Legette made those plays. And then I saw first the NFL Next Gen stat numbers. And then I see those numbers out there as far as his average separation. And he's got to get more separation moving forward, because I don't think you're going to maintain 4 receptions, 35 yards. But to be able to put up those numbers, that kind of production, even with the lack of separation, and he's not known to be a great separator to begin with, he'll work on that. And that's why he's now here in the NFL. They need to get him to a better spot there. That's kind of encouraging. Okay. Didn't get open, but he still caught the ball and made some plays. Last year, the guys weren't open, did not catch the ball, and did not make plays. I think that he's already wide receiver 3 after Mingo didn't take care of the football. And Dave Canales has talked so much about taking care of the ball. You got to value it. and getting the football right. After that, I just don't see he's going to want to keep going to him. It would make a lot of sense to me. Legette came in and was over Mingo, and Mingo still played later on because they kind of just kept playing those guys because they had to. I think he is the guy moving forward at wide receiver 3, and it's an encouraging start production-wise. Separation-wise, not as much, but still encouraging the fact that he didn't really get a lot of separation, but still was able to make some plays and help out Bryce Young on Sunday. All right, take another quick pause, come back and answer the rest of your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions right here on Locked On Panthers. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. A few more questions here on this weekly Wednesday mailbag here on Locked On Panthers. Again, either at me or DM me on Twitter at Julian Council to get your questions in for next week's edition of the show. The best time to really ask me questions is following the game on Sunday. So get those questions in on Sunday and on Monday. Then I usually record on Tuesday evening. So Sunday after the game, Monday all day, Tuesday, get those in by about 4:00 p.m. Eastern time. And you have a great chance of getting your question answered. Always try to answer the questions if I can. Also in my mentions or DM, if you send them there and I don't get them onto the show. Now, a lot of them are pretty repetitive and a lot of people ask similar questions. So your question probably does get answered, even if it does not get answered right there verbatim the way you asked it. Okay, over to Jake now, asking about the defense. In particular, Ejiro Evero. He says, is this the last ride for Ejiro Evero in Carolina? Last year seemed like inflated numbers since the offense was so bad. A historically bad defense seems to be inevitable this year. 0 adjustments made. Couldn't stop the run yet again. I know the offense was horrible too, but I can't get over how horrible the defense played. And that's one of the things too when I look at the game on Sunday and people calling for Bryce to be benched. Like, the defense was just as concerning, if not more concerning, than the quarterback was on Sunday in that loss. Like, you can't sit here and scapegoat any single person based off of how the entire team played. Not one unit played well. There were certain players individually who certainly had good games, but everyone has to wear that embarrassing loss on Sunday. Now, he did, I think accidentally, he said that last year seemed like deflated numbers. Inflated numbers is what I changed it to, because I'm pretty sure that's what Jake meant to say. Looking at the numbers last year, we have gone over this a couple of times leading up to the season, in particular on the State of the Defense episode I did, I believe, on July 16th. So go back and listen to that if you want to. But a couple of numbers I had brought up. You look at just the traditional stats out there. The Panthers defense was 4th in total defense in the NFL a year ago. They were 6th in yards per play. But when you look at the new age advanced analytics, they were 23rd in expected points added and 25th in DVOA. And even going back to a traditional number, they had the 29th scoring defense. They were 28th in red zone defense. So this defense really wasn't that good, but we understand why. They didn't have J.C. Horn basically the entire season. They didn't have Shaq Thompson basically the entire season. They had 4 games where Von Bell didn't play, 4 games where Xavier Woods didn't play. They had C.J. Henderson out at points in times. They had a bunch of injuries all year long. They had to lean on guys like DiCaprio Bootle and Deshaun Jameson and Alex Cook, who are no longer around here in the Panthers secondary. So they had a lot of issues. And one of the issues they had last year was getting after the passer, and their top 3 pass rushers are all gone this season. And they tried to at least bring in Clowney, which they did, and Wonnum to replace what they lost. But Wonnum's not healthy right now. We have no idea when he's going to be available. They've already moved on from Jamie Sheriff, who they brought on off of waivers after roster cut down day, and they just don't seem to have a pass rush. And I don't know how that's going to change based off of the talent currently on the roster and the health of that position group and basically everything that we saw. And yes, scheme. Ejiro Evero is more focused on setting the edge on defense, and they didn't do a great job of setting the edge to stop the run, opposite of Jadeveon Clowney, because they didn't run the Jadeveon Clowney side like barely on Sunday. They went after Eku Leota. They went after DJ Johnson. They knew they could take advantage of whoever was on that other side instead of going after Clowney, who's a known commodity in this league. And that's just going to be the case when running into football this year. And then same case when it comes to, protecting with the pass rush. They're going to send a double more often. I don't know if they're going to send a lot of doubles. I don't think Clowney is that big of a threat anyways. But if they're going to send a double, it's going to be on his side. And they're going to be like, all right, Eku Leota, beat us. They've just brought in somebody else whose name escapes me right now. Who's the outside linebacker they just brought in? Charles Harris. He's a veteran. All right, come on, beat us. We're not super concerned about you. We're more concerned about the other guy, the monster, the alien, Jadeveon Clowney coming after us instead. But it could be the last ride for Ejiro Evero if the defense is going to look this bad. Because if it looks this bad, then I just don't see how he's kept around here, even if we can all understand that Brian Burns is no longer here. Frankie Louvu is no longer here. Dante Jackson, who made a game-changing play on Sunday for Pittsburgh, is no longer here. Yetur Gross-Matos, 8 of the 11 players who played the most snaps for this team last season are currently not here. Now, one of them is back. Deshaun Williams is back after not making the team in Buffalo. He's on the Panthers practice squad. That's news that came out on Tuesday afternoon. So that's 7 of the 11 that played a ton of snaps for him that are no longer here on the team. Now, the thing, though, was that they brought in Jordan Fuller. They brought in Nick Scott. They brought in Josie Jewell. They brought in A'Shawn Robinson, guys who already knew his scheme, and it had a lot of players coming back already who were here last year in Carolina who played in that scheme. And that Ejiro Evero came out and told us, the media, during training camp that, yeah, it's been kind of a seamless transition because so many guys have experience playing for me and playing in this scheme. But then you watch the game on Sunday, and as Jake brings up, no adjustments made, couldn't stop the run, looked pretty bad for a team that had guys who had been in this system before. Now, I guess I can give them the benefit of the doubt because it's only week 1 and they have not played together in a real game all together as a unit. We'll see how it goes moving forward, but it could be. But he's also a hostage of David Tepper. He's under contract for another year. If Canales wants him here and is given the autonomy to let him go, then he can go off. But Tepper held him hostage and kept him away from better situations for him and kept him now in Carolina and gave him a bad defense. So we'll see. I don't know how much you can blame him. We know this guy made chicken salad out of you-know-what last season, and he may have to do that again this year. Injuries have already been an excuse for him. One of them, and it's not an excuse, but a reason. One of them's not healthy. Brown's done for the year. Dane Jackson's currently not healthy. It's going to be tough sledding for that defense this season, unfortunately, based off of what we've seen last year at times, but what we've certainly already seen so far this year in the injuries that they have endured. Rob asking me now, thanks for enduring, speaking of enduring, thank you for enduring this tall, frothy glass of garbage juice we call a franchise for us week in and week out. Your thanks. You're welcome, Rob. I don't do it for free. It ain't for my health, certainly. With this first so-called performance, how long do you think David Tepper sits by before he starts doing Tepper things? And kind of goes back to the opening question about how much of a leash does Dave Canales have here in Carolina? That's really up to David Tepper. The same case with Bryce Young. How long will the Panthers stick with him? It's really up to David Tepper. He's gotten sick of Teddy. He's gotten sick of Sam. He's gotten sick of Baker. And the Panthers made decisions to move on from those quarterbacks. And whenever he gets sick of Bryce Young, they'll go out there and then move on again. And I'm guessing some guys in that building there on 800 South Minster will also have to move on following the decision made by David Tepper. But thinking about it, it has been a while since we've had an incident in the office when it comes to David Tepper. There's always the countdown of, this how many days since the last incident. It's been since the draft since we've had shenanigans from old Daddy Warbuck. So I'm guessing that if we see another bad performance on Sunday, we may be up for some more ineptitude type of performance from him and a display of just childhood behavior that we've all come accustomed to here in Carolina. And the cameras All the cameras will be looking for him on Sunday if anything goes wrong, and we'll see if he drops an F-bomb in frustration in the bowels of Bank of America Stadium. So, Rob, I'm paying attention, always paying attention to what nonsense that David Tepper is going to do here. Joseph, last question. He says, do you think it would be advantageous for Canales to utilize pre-snap motion at a higher rate to help Bryce read the field better? I realize this would take a few more seconds, so ideally the offense would adjust accordingly to accommodate. Other than delay of game penalties, what would be the downside to this strategy? Let me just read this quote, and that will basically be my answer. This quote comes from Bucks linebacker Servase Dennis. This is from training camp, and I was asked about this about a month ago and if I had any thoughts. And I said, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll come back to it. And here we are coming back to it. He said, quote, I love Dave, and now he's at the Carolina Panthers. But I think with his offense, you can telegraph a lot. You can see a lot of things, and football is all concepts. Everybody runs the same thing. Both Liam Cohen, the new OC there in Tampa Bay, everything is like it's one play out of 15, 20 different looks. He has a lot of moving parts. He has a lot of eye candy, things that get you out of your gaps in your zones and everything there. I think, Joseph, that Servase Dennis answers your question back in August. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Julian Council, DM me on Twitter at Julian Council, at me, where I'll be back again next Wednesday answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. All you got to do is do what I just said, at me or DM me. And of course, subscribe or follow the show for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. But in the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding. And on tomorrow's show, Locked On NFL Crossover Thursday is back. We're breaking down the matchup, the home opener against the Chargers on Sunday with the hosts of Locked On Chargers.